All right, everybody. So today we're going to be talking about the TED Talks that's mentioned in Lesson 7. All right, so Lesson 7 talks about TED Talks. Because it's talking about TED, you'll be introduced to the idea and everything that goes into public speaking, speaking in front of many people. All right, so let's just go over some interesting things about TED, the TED Talks. First of all, number one, TED stands for Technology, Entertainment, and Design. All right, the first TED Talk was given by a man named Richard Warman. He had the first TED Talk, and when he did it, he thought it was just going to be a one-time thing, as we call it, a one-off. All right, it was supposed to be just a one-time talk. He felt it very important that he will give a speech and talk about the linking of technology, entertainment, and design. So he gave this one-time talk because he thought it's a very important thing. He didn't realize that after that, it would be an annual thing. It would be something that occurred every single year since 1990. And actually, when he gave the first talk, that whole event costed a lot of money. They didn't make any money from that event. So they actually lost money, and they didn't even make money until many years later. Uh, so the fourth interesting fact about TED is that it covers as many topics as possible. Before it was just technology, entertainment, and design, but today it's anything, right? Anything can be a topic on TED. Um, on the day of the talk, the audience, the people listening, will be given some rules that they have to follow. One of those interesting rules is that they have to encourage the speaker if they feel that the speaker is too nervous to speak. So when they see that the speaker is nervous, they have to do something like applaud, clap their hands, or say something just to encourage, to help the speaker speak more freely if they are nervous. So that's something interesting that maybe you didn't know. Not all of them are so perfect at speaking, and some of them might need a little bit of help. The speakers don't have to be an educated person. They don't have to be a doctor. They don't have to be a teacher. They don't have to be a professor. They can be someone who doesn't even know how to read a book. All right. They can be illiterate. The most important thing is their experience in TED Talks. So the TED doesn't care about a person's education. They care about their experience. And what's interesting is even though they started off as something that was supposed to be about technology, entertainment, and design, the topics that interest people the most are topics about happiness, vulnerability, and sex. All right. So those are just the themes that people love most about TED Talks. Now, if you want to go ahead and read some interesting articles and also watch some of the most popular TED Talks, these are the 5 most popular ones. I'm going to leave the screen open for a few seconds in case you want to write it down, take a picture, take a screenshot, whatever you want to do. These are the 5 most popular TED Talks of all time. All right, let's move on. So, I'm going to talk to you guys today about public speaking. All right, this is public speaking is speaking in front of a large group of people, speaking in front of the public. Now, if you were to think about things that made you scared or things that you are afraid of, what would they be, right? What would you be afraid of? I'd be afraid of somebody trying to kill me. I'd be afraid of dying in an airplane. or flying an airplane, right? I'd be afraid of jumping from a tall bridge, right? These are many things that people can be afraid of. So there are a lot of studies that try to look into what people are afraid of. Apparently, one of the top 5 fears that people have, in addition to death, spiders, afraid of the dark, or afraid of heights, is public speaking. So if you're watching this video and you're thinking about speaking in front of people and you're afraid of it, you're not alone. Most people are afraid of speaking in front of other people, public speaking. Now, 74%, right? That's a lot of people suffer from something called speech anxiety. That means that when they talk in front of people, they talk in front of a lot of people, they get very nervous, they get very anxious, they get very afraid. It is more common in women, but it's also very common in men. As you can see in this graph, 75% of women suffer from speech anxiety and 73% of men. So it's about the same. It's about the same. But yes, of course, women tend to show it more than males. So now when you look deeper into who is really afraid of speaking in front of other people, obviously, as you get older in life, you're not so afraid of it anymore. All right. And a lot of that has to do with experience, guys. So the blue is baby boomers, right? Those are people born, those are your parents or your grandparents are considered baby boomers, people born in the, before 1970. Then you have Generation X, those born after around 1970. And then you have some of your parents might be Generation X. And then you have Generation Y, which is the younger generation. So we do see here, right? This is the young people. The green one is the young people, right? Their biggest fear when you're young, you're not worried about death. You don't even know what death is. You want to try everything, so you're not afraid of heights that much. You're not afraid of getting sick. You're young, you're healthy. You're not afraid of financial problems. You don't even know what money is right now, right? So what's your biggest fear sitting there in high school? It's going to be public speaking. So for your age group, right, obviously the biggest fear is public speaking. Not so much for your parents or grandparents. They don't care what they say in front of other people. And you see that, right, guys? You can see that your parents or grandparents do not care what other people think about them. So if they have something to say, they will say it, right? Now, as we move down, right, we move to the next fear of heights, right? Fear of heights. It's about the same, right? This is a normal fear. Who wouldn't be afraid of heights? A lot of people are afraid of heights. Illness and health. It's normal. You see that people who are around middle age, they tend to have a higher fear of health and illness because they are in that kind of middle area between being very healthy to getting sicker, right? Once you're older, you pass that stage, you already know what you have, you already deal with it, you're comfortable with it, you acknowledge it, you know what's happening, you know what to do, you're not freaking out or anything like that. Um, Fear of swimming, fear of the deep water, right? It's obviously higher with the older generation because they're not able to swim as well as somebody who's younger. And then the fear of death, right? It's the opposite, right? So someone much older is not going to be so scared of dying because they've lived a long life, and many people have come to a comfort level, all right, where they want to be. They know what to expect. They've seen a lot of death already. And they understand that that's the cycle, that's the way of life. And then of course financial problems, right? So the older you are, the more you're going to worry about money. So guys, If you think your biggest problem in the world is public speaking, trust me, it gets worse. Public speaking is the least of your problems. All right, let's move on to the next slide. All right, so now this is something cool, just showing you about how nervousness and confidence works throughout your throughout the population. So there are two extremes that you see in this graph, right? 10% of the population have a phobia, right? So 10% of people are really scared to talk in front of people. And then there's 10% who are not scared at all, right? Most people are in the middle. Most people have some kind of fear, some kind of fearlessness, right? So it's normal, right? Over 80% of the people, of the population, have some type of fear related to presenting. So maybe you don't have a phobia, you don't have some problem with you. Don't think that you're not normal. Don't think that you have some issue that you need to see a doctor or something. It's completely normal. Most people are like that. So I'm going to give you some tips. I'm going to tell you what you can do to have a good topic, to have a good presentation, so that when you do speak, you are confident in what you're saying. And when you're confident, you don't get nervous and you don't get scared. Okay? So I'm going to go over some things that you should do. I'm going to go over some things that you should not do. And you'll see the reasons for that. So the first most important thing you can do is choose a topic that you care about. I see this all the time. I see students talk about something that obviously, clearly, they do not care about, right? Why would you do that? Don't do that. Don't talk about something you don't care about. Talk about something you're interested in. All right? You don't want to talk about something. If you hate dogs, don't talk about dogs, right? I see this all the time. They pick a topic, and because it's just a topic that is easy to choose, for example, but it's not something that they're really interested in. And if it's not interested in, you are going to hate it the whole time. I don't want you guys to hate the whole process, all right? Because then it's very hard to give a good speech about something that you really don't care about. All right, next thing is, right, when you pick a topic, ask yourself, is this topic, is this idea, what am I talking about? Is it new? Is it something that's new? Is it something that's relevant? Is it something from like 100 years ago, or is it something that people are talking about today? Right? Is it interesting? Is it a fact? Is it realistic? Right? Am I talking about complete and utter nonsense? Am I talking about nonsense? Am I talking about things that don't matter at all, or am I talking about something that's real, something that is a fact, right? And like I said before, do I care about my idea? Do you care about what you're saying? Okay, if you don't care about it, then don't talk about it. After you have your idea, after you know what you want to talk about, you have to come up with a message, right? What is your message? What do you want everyone to take home? What do you want everyone to understand? What do you want everyone to take away from what you are saying, right? You have to think about that. You have to think about what you want the people listening to you to really understand and take home and tell their family or friends or whatever. That's what you want to be remembered by. Okay, so it's very important that you think about, what is your message? What are you trying to tell people in one sentence, in just a few words? What are you trying to tell people? Okay, and what do you want them to take away, right? This is what I just said. Now, here are some tips that I think you guys should do. Once you have your topic and you have your speech, you wrote it out, everything's ready, good to go. What you need to do next is you need to practice, okay? And the best way to do it is practice in front of a mirror. You have to watch yourself. You're not going to just prepare, write a speech, and just think that you can go right in front of people and everything's going to be okay. Not going to happen. Nobody is that good. Nobody's that perfect. Remember the 10% and the 10%? Maybe 1% can do that. Even the 10% that's not afraid to speak in front of people, they'll still practice, they'll still prepare. Okay? So do it in front of a mirror, guys, please. Also, record yourself. Okay? When you practice speaking, I want you guys to record yourself. Most people, and it's true, hate the sound of their own voice. And that's fine. You have to get over that. Just listen to yourself speak. So use your phone, record yourself talking, and then listen to it. Or you can do a video of yourself. Okay, when you do a video of yourself, I want you guys to watch yourself. And later on, I'm going to show you some things not to do. And I want you to study. Are you doing those things? Are you doing the things that I told you not to do? Are you doing the things that I told you to do? Okay. So it's very important that when you practice speaking, you record yourself, watch yourself, listen to yourself. All right. So here's what to do, what not to do when you speak in front of people. First thing, you create a PPT, a PowerPoint, slides. I see this all the time. I hate seeing it. When you have a slide and you have all these words on the slide, right? Who's it for? No one's going to read it. Is it for you? Are you going to read it? All right. Are people sitting down to listen to you read a book to them? Is this story time? No. Is this kindergarten? No. Don't read to people. All right. If you're going to read the slide to people, then they don't need you, right? What do they need you for? They don't need you. Okay? They can read by themselves if they have to read. So what's the point of you, right? So most important thing is don't put too many words on your slides because people are going to see it, and after they see so many words, they're not going to want to read it, just like you guys, right? If you saw like an entire slide full of things, why would you want to read it? You're going to be like, oh God, I don't want to look at that. Okay, so you want to have a slide that looks like the one on the right side, right? This one. Simple, bullets, to the point, just topics. Okay, so for example, here it says in presentations, you should not avoid eye contact with your audience. Avoid eye contact, right? Simplify it, make it simple, easy to read, easy to understand. Then when you're speaking, you'll be able to see those 3 words or 2 words, and you'll be able to talk about it because you already researched the topic and you know the topic and you care about the topic. So it'll be easy for you to talk about the topic. All right. Eye contact. I see this all the time, guys. When you are giving a speech, it is very important to look at the audience. Look at people. Don't just take your phone and read your phone. It's just like when you're talking to a friend or a person. If you're not looking at them, they're not going to be interested in you. Simple as that. Let's say you're in a room alone with one other person and you start talking but you're not looking at them. Do you think they're going to listen to you? No, they're probably going to think you're crazy. They're probably going to think something's wrong with you, right? You're talking to yourself. You're talking to your phone. You're talking to your hand or to your piece of paper, but you're not even looking at them. So how are they supposed to know that you're talking to them? And that's the whole point of public speaking. It's you, one person, talking to many people. And if you're not looking at those people, you're not talking to those people. Okay? So you are basically talking to yourself. And then if you're not looking at them, they're not going to be interested in what you're saying. They're not going to care about what you're saying. All right. So it's very important to look at your audience. Don't stare at your audience. Don't go like this and look at someone. And you can tell when you look at someone and you talk to someone and you're looking at the same person for too long, they might be uncomfortable. Move on. Look at the next person. All right. So just look around. If you're uncomfortable with looking at a specific person, it's easy that when you're standing in front of many people, you can just look but not focus. As long as your eyes are moving around, looking around at the people but not focusing on them, you're fine. You're okay. You don't need to focus. You don't need to stare someone directly in their eye and talk to them. You're talking to many people. So as long as you're looking at the audience, you're okay. And as long as you're not staring down at your phone or your paper, you're fine. So this is exactly what I'm trying to tell you guys. Don't stare at your paper because this is what you look like. And nobody wants to listen to someone who looks like this, right? Nobody wants to focus on what someone's saying. If they're not talking to you, they're talking to their hand or a piece of paper. What you want is something more like this. You look at your piece of paper, you look at your notes, 1 to 2 seconds, and then you look up. 95% of the time, you have to be looking at your audience. The other 5%, you look down at your notes. Not a big piece of paper, okay? I don't want to see you holding up a big piece of paper and reading it in front of everybody, or a stupid phone and doing this to look at your notes, or squinting to see what you wrote. It's better to just write it on a piece of paper and you write bullets, and that's it. Don't write a lot. Because you're supposed to practice, guys. You're supposed to practice. All right. The other things you have to stop doing is pacing. All right. That's this right here, this cartoon, the guy in the green shirt. He is pacing, going back and forth. You're walking around too much. You're going to make everybody dizzy. Nobody's going to follow you, right? You don't want your audience going like this. Oh, what's this guy doing? Oh my God, he's crazy. He's just going back and forth like tennis, right? And you don't want to be moving your hands, right? You don't want to be like playing with your hair or whatever it is you like to do when you're nervous. Keep your hands to yourself and try not to move around too much. Something good that you can do if you really need to move or do something is talk with your hands. It's a very important tool. I like doing it. I think it's nice when speakers use their hands to speak. You can go online and you can search about all the different gestures and what they mean. Obviously, there's a way to do it too much, which is not good. You want to do it a little bit, right? A little bit of moving your hands when you speak. And you can see a lot of good examples of that online. All right, guys. And then I think this is the last point, fillers. When you speak, please, 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 try not to use fillers. Okay? That means okay? Stop doing that. So those are filler sounds. Then there's filler phrases. See, I just did it. You can do it once in a while, but if you're doing it all the time, it's going to be more noticeable than what you are trying to say. Okay, so if you are constantly going, then no one's going to listen to what you're saying. They're going to forget about the first thing you said, and that's it. You might as well sit down, go home. All right, then there's filler phrases. Try to avoid these. Once is enough. All right, more than 2 times, you're overdoing it, right? I think, you know. What I'm trying to say is, you see, I mean, what I mean is, believe, right? Try to stop doing that. It's kind of, it's kind of like, right? you lost the audience when you start doing that. Then there are filler words, okay? Try to use as less as possible of these, like well, okay, like. The equivalent of like, I think in Chinese is nigga, 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 right? You say that a lot. Even in Chinese, you shouldn't say that, naga, or whatever it's called, right? You don't want to be constantly repeating that word because it just breaks the flow of your speech. You want a speech that's clean and smooth. And the best way to go about that is to write it down and practice. Practice, practice, practice. You're never going to get better unless you practice. And the best way to do that is using the phone, record yourself, and if you can, exposure. So the first time, just do it. If you suck, you suck. That's okay. But the more times you give a public talk, the better. And you're just going to get better at it. So if the first time is horrible, that's okay. You shouldn't stop there. You should try again. It's okay. Because you're only going to get better, right? Now, we have a saying, practice makes perfect. All right, guys? Practice, practice, practice. That's the only way you're going to get better. And that's the best thing you can do. Don't quit after the first time. Just keep going. Thanks. Goodbye. All right, everyone. I'm just going to do an introduction on lesson 8. All right, so lesson 8 is about something called bando. All right, is it bando? Is it bando? Actually, guys, I gotta tell you, I don't know. I have no idea. So I haven't heard of this name since I opened this book. I don't even know what this is. But I did a little Google search, all right, and I searched what is bando, Bandoh. That's how the book writes it down. And I gotta tell you, if I didn't look at the book, I would not know what this is. But because I did see the book and I did see the picture in the book, I do know that it's trying to talk about this kind of thing, which we all know about. Anyone who's ever been to Taiwan will know what this thing is. We call it something else, actually. If you go on Wikipedia, you'll see that we call it roadside banquet. Okay, and in the book it does call it a banquet. There are different kinds of banquets that you can have in Taiwan, as you know, right? Like you have a wedding banquet, and you have a birthday banquet, then you have like a full month, a holiday banquet. So we call it a roadside banquet. We don't really know what bando means. That's something that you would hopefully know. So if you do look up roadside banquet, you'll see there are these banquets that in Taiwan people eat on the street, or they'll eat sometimes indoors, like if it's a wedding. Yeah, so it is a really good place for us. We know it. Many foreigners, many people who come to Taiwan. If you have not ever eaten at this kind of place, then you've never really been to Taiwan. So for us, it's a must see, must try, must do kind of thing, and it's great. It's really good. Now, we just call it roadside banquet, though. That's what we call it, or we just call it a banquet. But it's really not the kind of banquet that we know. Um, yeah, this is probably before COVID days. I guess now people don't share a dish like that. When I first came to Taiwan and I was invited to these kind of banquets, I was shocked at how delicious the food was, but also how informal everything was and how people were just grabbing and going at a dish until it was just gone. When we think about banquet, the word banquet, we're talking about something that is elaborate, fancy, beautiful, and formal, right? The key word is formal. That means everybody's dressed in a suit and tie or dress, gown. All right, everyone's wearing something very nice, very expensive, very fancy. Not so much in Taiwan, I gotta tell you guys. When I've been to weddings, the first time I went to a wedding in Taiwan, I was shocked because I and the person getting married were the only two people wearing a suit. And I felt really weird. I was like, why is everybody wearing a t-shirt? Why is everybody wearing a polo shirt? What's going on? Isn't this a wedding? Is this just a rehearsal? Are they just practicing? What's going on? What's happening? Why am I dressed so nice? This is crazy. But so when we talk about banquets, we talk about something more fancy than what you usually see in Taiwan. Banquet, famous banquet everybody knows about is in Harry Potter, right? Everyone who watched Harry Potter, this is the banquet. This is the food hall. This is where they all eat. This is what you would call a banquet. All right. The other example, closer to maybe what you have in Taiwan, is banquets, outdoor banquets. Usually these are done for weddings in Spain or Italy. They'll look like this. It's outdoor, so it's a little less formal, but it's still pretty formal. As you can see, many people are still dressed up. Everything looks really nice. It's usually done in the countryside, not in the city, because there's more space there. There's cleaner air. It's quieter. It's easier to do over there and cheaper. This is one example in Spain. This is a banquet in Spain. There's also a wedding, I believe. All right, and then we're back to Taiwan, right? So Taiwan will have the ones on the streets and the ones indoor as a wedding, and you'll see that you always have like a some kind of projector screen where they embarrass everybody here. Um, it's all the same. I've been to so many weddings in Taiwan, and they all follow the exact same procedure. They're all exactly the same, so they all do the same thing. It's sometimes nice to go to a wedding here that's very different. Like I've been to a wedding on a beach, and that was very nice. It's always good to, do different things. The food. So the food's really great, as you guys know. For us, it's really interesting and cool. I don't know how it feels for Taiwanese people. Maybe it's like, oh, this is like what my mom used to cook every single day. So maybe for you, it's not exciting, but for us, it's kind of interesting. So for the look, I'll give it a C minus. Taste, for the bando cuisine, the banquet in Taiwan, A plus. Tastes great, but everything looks pretty trashy. Sorry, guys. Now, I just wanted to tell you there is a wedding. There is a movie called The Wedding Banquet. If you want to look it up, you can watch that movie. It's pretty interesting, funny, good movie. If you want to kind of improve your English too, it's easy to understand. It's a funny movie, and it's kind of about this kind of thing. You'll see like the different in cultures, in banquets between West and East. So I highly recommend that you watch this movie when you can. You can go and look it up online. It's pretty funny, pretty good. All right, just want to show you other kinds of meals around the world. Um, this is a Russian zakuski, right? So zakuski is basically just cold aperitifs, cold appetizers or hors d'oeuvres, as we call them. They're like these little finger foods that you eat. And it's all cold food. They usually serve these at Russian banquets. A lot of Russian food is cold food too, and it's also really tasty. Um, don't know if they have any of them in Taiwan, but you can look up some interesting things. I just want to mention that right now, the time I'm recording this video, is actually a very, very big holiday all over the world called Passover, where people eat kind of like banquet style. They set up the table in a very specific way, kind of like it's done in Taiwan. So where you put the food might matter. So it does matter where you put the food for this holiday called Passover. And this is just a picture of Obama celebrating Passover in the White House when he was president. And it's just a very big, very important holiday all over the world that Jewish people celebrate. All right, guys, so that's all I had for this wonderful topic. I don't know much about it, so I tried to give you guys as much information as I can. Thank you for listening. Cool. All right, lesson 9. What is this, the last lesson of the book? Is it? Kind of? Yes. All right. Eponyms. What's an eponym, guys? I don't know. What's an eponym? Okay, an eponym is a it's a word, all right, that is named after a person. Okay, it could be an event, a word, a saying, anything that comes from a person. So in this presentation, I am going to go over some famous eponyms that you may or may not have known. All right, let's start with the days of the week. Okay, Sunday comes from the sun. Okay, so that's how we get the word Sunday. Monday, the moon. Right? Now, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday come from Norse mythology, okay? This comes from a religion that is today kind of dead, but we all know a lot of these people from the famous Marvel movies. So Tuesday comes from the god Tyr. Wednesday is named after the god Odin. All right. In German, and Old English, it's actually Woden with a W, and that's why Wednesday has a W in it because the old spelling had a W. So Odin's old spelling of the name was with a W, as you can see on under where it says Odin. All right, so that's how it's actually spelled in other languages too, like German, how it used to be spelled. Today we just spell it commonly as Odin, Odin, and that's where we get Wednesday from. All right, literally means Odin's day. Then you have Thor. You guys know who Thor is, right? God with the hammer. That's where Thursday comes from. Thor's day. And the goddess, okay, of Frigg, her name was Frigg. That's where Friday comes from. So if you ever wondered and you ever wanted to know why is it called Monday, Wednesday, Friday, where do we get these names from? Why are we calling it these? Why aren't we calling it like in Chinese, day one, day two, day three, or whatever, right? Why don't we just, why are these people using names like that? Well, this is where it comes from. A lot of things were related to religion, same as the months of the year, right? So January, February, all these names come from Greek and Roman gods, most of them Roman. All right. So like July is named after Julius Caesar. Janus was the god of January. Mars, god of war. That's March. That's where we get March from. June is from the goddess Juno. So all the names of the months, if you ever wanted to know why, where we came up with these names, why aren't they just numbers like in some other cultures? It's because of the Roman mythology, the Roman religion, many, many years ago, thousands of years ago. All right, let's go through some cool eponyms. Right, first one, America. So America is actually an eponym, right? Why is it called the United States of America? South America, North America, Central America. What's America? Where did America come from? America come from an Italian man named Amerigo Vespucci. All right. And he was a map maker. He made maps. All right. And he was the person who named this part of the world, the part of the world where the United States is in, America. All right. The Americas. So that is why we call it America. It's actually named after an Italian guy. So that's pretty interesting. All right. Next one. Ah, the Earl of Sandwich. Okay. This was an actual guy. A few hundred years ago, his name was John Montagu. All right, he was an earl of a place in England, in the UK, called Sandwich. So the name of the place was actually called Sandwich. And there are a lot of stories about why the sandwich is named after him. I'm not going to go into it because some of them are not true, some of them are true. We don't really know. A lot of people don't really know the truth. But it is true that the sandwich that we eat today is named after this guy. Before him, they used to just call it bread and meat or bread and cheese, and that's it. And sandwich is such a popular name. You even translated it into Chinese, right? You have Samitsu, whatever you call it, right? So it's actually a place in the UK. It's a town, it's a little village in a place called Kent outside of London. And it's named after a rich guy who I guess liked sandwiches a lot. Next one. Uzi. All right, anyone here who plays video games, you're gonna know this gun very well. It's a very popular gun, both in video games and also in real life. It's actually invented by a man called Uziel Gal. He was a major in the Israeli army, and they invented this weapon. The Israeli army, as you might know, invents a lot of weapons. Israel is a very small country. They don't have a lot of resources, so in order to make up for their lack of resources, they have a lot of technology. So they invent a lot of technology because they don't have anything else really to sell. They don't have oil, they don't have a lot of minerals. So it's very hard. And that's why their technology, their tech industry is very, very advanced. We communicate today on something called Line, right? In other countries, they use WhatsApp. Before WhatsApp, there were so many other things, right? There's Messenger, Yahoo Messenger. All before that, there was MSN Messenger, if you guys know. And then before MSN Messenger, there was something called ICQ, and that was actually also invented by Israel. So our chat system today is all thanks to the Israelis because they invented that. They invented the whole system, that whole technology. So they're very good with technology. If you want, you can go on the internet and look up a lot of things that were invented by Israel. And Uzi is one of them. Next, Louis Braille. Okay, so this was a French guy. He was he had blindness, like he couldn't see since he was a child. And he invented the system of Braille. If you ever go to an elevator and you see these little dots on the buttons, that's Braille. Okay, Braille is the system for people who can't see to be able to read. Cool stuff, huh? Next, Diesel, Rudolf Diesel. He invented the diesel engine that runs on diesel gasoline. So you guys, if you've ever been to a gas station, I don't know if you have, you see diesel, this is who it's named after. Next one. All right. George Washington Gale Ferris Jr. All right. Ferris wheel. He's the man who invented the Ferris wheel. You have a lot of Ferris wheels in Taiwan. I think Kaohsiung alone has like 2 or 3 big giant Ferris wheels, right? You have one in Ida and you have another one, where is it? Where is it in that mall? What's that mall? Dream Mall, right? You have Dream Mall. All right. So the Ferris wheel was actually invented by a guy named Ferris, who before inventing the Ferris wheel was an architect and inventor of many bridges. Right. So he built a lot of bridges, and then one day he built something called a Ferris wheel. Jacuzzi. If you don't know what a jacuzzi is, maybe you look at the picture, you see the jacuzzi, that's a jacuzzi. Okay, the jacuzzi where you go in, you get all these bubbles in the water. It was actually invented by a man named Jacuzzi. He invented the pump that made those bubbles that we use today in many jacuzzis in many houses, hotels around the world. And this is a pretty cool one that you probably didn't know. The teddy bear is actually named after one of the presidents of the United States of America. His name was Theodore Roosevelt, but his nickname was Teddy. And the story goes that once upon a time, he was out with his friends hunting bears, black bears. And all of his friends shot and killed bears. except for Teddy. So Teddy wasn't able to catch a bear, but his friends all were. And so they felt bad for him and they wanted to make him feel better. So they said, "Okay, look, we got a bear." They found a bear that was really sick, old, slow, not really strong. They tied it up and they held the bear, as you can see in the cartoon. And they said, "Come on, Teddy, shoot it, shoot it. Come on, you didn't shoot a bear, so here's your chance. Shoot the bear." And Teddy said, "No, I'm not going to shoot a bear. That's not what hunting is about. It's too easy. I don't want to do it that way." So he refused to shoot the bear. But there was a cartoon, as you see in the slide, that made it into the newspaper. And this was on the news that Teddy Roosevelt went hunting and they tried to tie up a bear so that he can shoot it, and he refused to shoot the bear. This was the cartoon. And then what happened was a toy maker saw this cartoon and decided to make what we know today as a teddy bear. And that's where teddy bears come from. All right. Okay, guys, there are over 8,000 eponyms. So the English language is full of them. You can look them up. You're going to learn some more of them in your lesson 9 in the book. You're going to see other ones like paparazzi, and you're going to see cardigan. You're going to see other kind of um, eponyms that exist, boycotts, Achilles heel. I just wanted to give you ones that weren't mentioned in the book. I hope you enjoyed and I hope you learned something. All right, guys, see you later. Bye.